Hey, this is Eric. I hope you enjoy my first poker vlog at Best Bet Jacks, playing 2-2 no limit. It's the very first hand I sit down under the gun. I limp for $2 with ace-8 suited. There's a few other limpers and the button raises to 10 and all the limpers call. We go five-handed to the flop. The flop is 10-7-4 with one diamond. Everybody check calls a middle position bet of $5. The turn's a two of diamonds and everybody checks. The river's a 10 of diamonds. I lead out for $20 and the villain calls and I take the pot down. About one orbit later, I see ace king under the gun +1. There's one limp. I raise to 11 and I have 5 callers. The flop comes 10-7-4. The small blind leads for 45 and everybody folds. He shows queen 10 offsuit. Next hand, I have ace queen suited. I raise under the gun to 10, have 2 calls. The small blind then ships for $34. I call and a late position player calls. The flop comes 10-10-4. I check and the late position player says that this is a good flop for him and he bets $30. I fold. The late position player shows 7-6 of spades and the small blind who shipped shows 10-9 and he held for the pot. Next hand, I have pocket queens under the gun and raise to 10. I have 5 callers. The flop is 6-4-3 with 2 clubs. The big blind leads out for $20. I call and a late position player calls. The turn is an offsuit 9. Now the big blind checks. I bet $25. Late position player calls and the big blind folds. So we're heads up to a river. And the river is the 5 of diamonds. I check, he checks, and he ends up showing ace-7 of clubs for flush draw turned into a straight. A few orbits later, I decide to limp ace-10 suited under the gun because people have been raising, but everybody just limps behind. The flop is 10-3-3, and it checks around. Then the turn is a 6 of hearts, giving me a flush draw with my top pair. I decide to lead for $5. Middle position player calls. Then a late position older guy makes it 15. I call, and then the guy in between makes it 60. The older player calls 60, and I of course get out of the way. It ends up being the middle position player flopped quads, and the older guy turned a boat, so I was drawing dead on the flop. Next hand, I have queen jack offsuit and the big blind, a few limps, and I check my option. I check call a button bet of $9 on a queen 6 flop. Then on the turn, I check call a $22 bet from the button. And then before the river, I check dark and the button also checks dark and I take it down with trips. The next hand, I have queen jack suited. I raise to a call a raise in small blind to $10 and we're playing four-handed. The flop is queen high. Everyone checks the late position who bets 20. I call on the small blind and everyone else folds. The turn and river both go check check and I take it down with top pair jack kicker. The next hand, under the gun opens to 10. I'm next to him and I make it 30 with queens. And then there's 3 callers, including 1 short stack and the small blind. The short stack ships $45 at a flop of jack 3-3. I call and a late position player calls. We check down to the river and the short stack player ends up taking the pot down with ace jack and the late position player had pocket 10s. Next hand, I have queen jack suited in the big blind and I call a $12 raise and it's 5-handed. The flop comes 5-3-2 with 2 clubs. I check to a late position player who goes all in for $20 and I call as well as a middle position player. The turn and river come queen king. It goes check check and I take that one down. Now this is the biggest hand of the session. I have ace king suited in the big blind. There's a few limps. Middle position player raises to $12. I decide just to call and everyone else calls. Flop comes king ace. I check to the raiser. He bets 30. The next player calls 30 and I raise to 100. Just the middle position player called and The turn comes with a 7. I decided to go in for $125. He tank calls, and he has ace queen. I guess he didn't believe that I had a king. There's a little bit of chip stack, and this is the last hand. I have pocket 6s. I limp. Button makes it 12. Both I and the small blind call. Flop trips. Everyone checks around. The turn comes in ace. I check. We check to the button. He makes it 17. Small blind and myself in the big blind call. Turns an 8. We check to the button again. He goes all in for $25. The small blind and myself call. The small blind ended up having an ace, and I lost to the button's pocket kings. I got set over set. Second time in the last 2 sessions I've got the bad end of a set over set. So I ended up buying in for $300 and then cashed out for $430 for a profit of $130 in about 3 hours. Yep, that's it. Hey, this is Eric. Welcome to my first poker vlog. Just like to play poker for fun. I have a full-time job. Whenever I find time, I just like to play. I've been playing since before the Moneymaker days. So I hope you get some content, and I like to give some feedback about my hands. So we'll see where this goes.